My name is Mason Marangella. I build rigs for the industry's top professionals. Now, I'm teaching guitarists how to build rigs like the pros, with DIY tips, easy mods, and all the tricks of the trade. I am the Rig Doctor. All right. Just give us a quick thumbs up if you can hear us. Want to make sure that the audio is good. It's looking like it's reading well on our side. Just get a consensus on whether the audio is working. Eventually, I'll stop asking these sorts of questions as we get started. But sometimes we had some double tracking issues where the voice was coming in twice. So I just want to make sure that that's not what's happening. I'm going to move this way a little bit more, Zapata, so you can get us both clearly. Because I'm about as wide. All good. All right.
Sweet.
I'm just going to close this so the Zeke doesn't go into the bathroom. My office bathroom. All right. Audio's good. We just started the morning, got some nice coffee from Brandywine in Delaware, natural Ethiopia, for the coffee connoisseurs out there. We're going to be doing sort of a mixture today. We've been taking questions for the last couple of days, not only from people who have been in our community responses that we've gotten on YouTube, but also on Facebook and Instagram. So I'm going to be doing sort of a mixture of those, and then working in the questions that we get here. And of course, anybody who's doing a super chat, we'll of course answer those as soon as they come in. So let's get started. I'm going to start here with YouTube, and the whole thing about what we're doing today is we just spent all day yesterday kind of rehabbing Zapata's rig. And if you've seen any of the stuff that we've done with Zapata before, it's all been kind of pretty much all vintage stuff, all being used in the front of amps. And we've done a couple iterations, and this one is I think is one of my favorite. I'm just going to pull up a little photo here. Let's see if I can get one handy. Check this out. So this is the rig right here. This is sort of the picture that I used in the thumbnail. We have an old school Fuzz face, original one. Was it BC 108 or 9?
I don't know.
Some sort of silicon transistor. Of course, the Hughes and Kettner, the Duelist. And if you look at the Duelist there, you'll see that I added a 9-volt tap in the front. Just so, stuff that's on the back like that on a pedal board, it can get knocked off very easily or broken. So by putting it in front, it kind of eliminates the risk, which is a cool thing. Of course, we have the tuner. We have a Mulan tremolo there in the front to the left of the Hughes and Kettner. And then, of course, the new addition is the Tone Czar delay. And that also has the Angel Baby extension. And then, of course, the Carl Martin headroom. And you'll see that there's some holes that I drilled in it. And some leads coming into the side. We actually used some of the available jacks as a pass-through on that. So it was a really cool way for us to be able to maximize the space, be able to get some other things so we can actually wire an auxiliary board. We haven't put together the auxiliary board, but we're doing that today. But this is kind of our current edition of the main board. So let's get started. So let's start with Vince. Let's add this in. So why the change in the pedal board setup? Why what we had before? Why this now?
I guess it's because I wanted to start doing some solo stuff of my own, and the delay kind of spurred it. This delay is like 3-in-1, and it's all right here. I don't have to have like 2 separate delays like I had before. And yeah.
In the delay that you had before, just to be clear for those people who haven't seen the old rig, it had a Memory Man, right, and a Boss AD80.
Correct.
And both of those I think had 3005 chips. Did they not?
Yeah, I think so.
But we were talking about it yesterday, in fact, because we talked about you felt like everything on the Memory Man sounded like you too.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's a great sounding board, but it just, I don't know, it had a thing, and it wasn't my thing. You know, it wasn't. It's cool for some stuff, but for me, it wasn't as natural as I'd liked it to be.
So it was not so much the delay sound as sort of like whatever like sort of preamp sound was being imparted to the delay, kind of like a sheen you kind of mentioned yesterday.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Because is there like a preamp in it or something?
Well, every delay will have some sort of preamp, and it's just sort of like whatever that color was may not have been to your liking. But you did like the 8080, but this just seemed like the tones are, and again, I'm going to bring that up on the screen so you can kind of see what it looks like. The tones are is the one kind of in the top or the bottom left there, kind of the chrome, and that's the delay, and it kind of allows you to have multiple delays in one. So having the 8080 on this was probably impractical or redundant if you already have 3 delays there.
Yeah, and you can do. I haven't dove into it quite yet, but you can also add another expression pedal, and there's like an oscillation switch, which is going to be great for live, use events.
Can you maybe show us kind of like what that delay does? Like maybe we'll get in, because I have it hooked up today where we're actually going through a Fender concert, and we got the pedal board running through, and I know you can't see it. Eventually I will get a second camera set up so that we can do this, but maybe Zapata will just play with the pedal board kind of on the table here, and I have him set up so we can actually have his fully mic'd up in the ISO room. So this is a concert with a G1265 with a 57 on it.
Let's see. All right.
Let's see what we got.
I just got the delay, so give me a second.
I have no idea what that sounds like because I don't have a headphone splitter, so only he can hear what the mic is doing. I'm just hearing it acoustically.
Okay. I think that proves the point.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I can sort of hear it. It's got to be pretty loud in those cans because I can sort of hear it a little bit out here. But yeah, very cool. All right, so I think that answers Vince's question. So thank you, Vince, for that. I'm going to go to one of our questions that came on through Instagram here. So one of the first questions here that we have is, so this is a style-oriented question, which is something that's been sort of a recurring theme. How do you balance your personal style with the vibe of the artist? So in other words, I think it's like, do you modulate your stage style or your personal style depending on who the artist is that you're playing with?
Oh, no. I mean, I just do me. Usually, what I wear during the day, I wear on stage.
All right.
But I mean, I've seen that. I've seen that in festivals, and I get it. Yeah, if the artist has a vision of what they want, then yeah, definitely. But Gary's pretty chill and cool with whatever.
So next step, spandex.
Yeah.
All right, let's bring in Jack Curtis here. What's your most important criteria when adding a pedal to your board? That's a good one.
Criteria.
Yeah.
I guess for me, it's the feel and the naturalness of it. Like when you get into like a rental car or something, and somebody like juices the bass frequencies and does all this crazy stuff, and then you turn it up and it doesn't sound natural. So you just flatten everything out. To me, that's I don't know. You could hear everything better. So that's where I'm at.
Dig it. All right, let's go to another one here, and then I'll go back. Let's see. Anthony tuning in from Ireland. Very cool. Thank you, Anthony. I guess it's kind of in the late afternoon or early evening there.
Yeah, we played there once in Dublin. I wish we'd hit that place more. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Max DA or Maxda. I love Zapata, such a cool cat. But Anthony actually had a question here, so let's get that one. Does Zap use both sides of the Duelist, and if so, which is his fave? Love his playing, by the way.
The Duelist is. I mean, I've had it for years, but I haven't really ever.
Because this is an original Duelist, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's engraved and it's in no paint.
Yeah, it might have been one of his first ones. He's updated it since because it's not.
Yeah, let's just bring you a picture of the board. Yeah. This is it, and the Duelist. We did mod it though. We should add.
Yeah.
I just basically just jumpered the existing power jack so that there could be another one. So this is basically just a through in essence. So you could use either one to break into, but this is just so nobody breaks anything off the back. But maybe this would just be a good opportunity just to show people how you're using it.
Well, okay.
Let's just hear it.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna pull this behind you just so you don't mute your strings.
Yeah.
All right, let me go back to the live view here. All right, let's hear how this is the Duelist and a little bit of delay. Right side.
That's what I initially liked was it with the fuzz. So I'm there right now. I haven't really got too much into the overdrive just by itself. What side is that? This is the 808 side. So I'm that far into it.
After a few years, he's that far into it. All right, cool. So thank you, Anthony, for that question. I'm going to go back to one that came up on Instagram here. So the other one is, what is your favorite fuzz? This is from Instagram. This is from Reshnikov.
I guess the fuzz. I mean, I have a bunch of different ones, but right now the fuzz face, because you can, again, because of the naturalness of rolling it back, you know, it's like your tone, but bloomed out, or, you know, not exaggerated, but better. And then, you know, at a flick of the roll, you can, you know, melt faces.
Very true. All right, let's go down a little bit here. This is from Timmy D. Zap, do you ever play IEM? And if you do you find it challenging to match your natural amp signal chain with what you hear in your ears?
Is IEM like a DJ?
In
I don't know what that is.
I think it's in-ear monitors.
Oh.
EDM.
EDM.
Yeah. Zap is an EDM-minded guitarist. He's got the drop pedal, you know. Boom, 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 boom.
No, I haven't done the in-ears yet, but a couple of the people in the band have. But
does Gary use in-ears?
Yeah, he just started to. I think it's more for singers.
Right.
But for me, I'm not there yet. But I guess I've done it in the studio with cans. Could that be the same thing?
Well, I think he's probably meaning for live application. You know, like.
Okay, I haven't done that yet.
You play so loud, I don't know that it would do much.
Yeah. Because
it would just overpower whatever you had.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I don't know the idea of that. Like I said, I think it's just for singers, but what do I know?
All right, thanks, Tim, for the question.
Sorry.
Let's go to Jason Kerr from Jamestown, Tennessee. Thanks, Jason.
Yeah.
It says it's clipping from the guitar, so
Sorry.
I don't know. It looks like on the monitors here, it's showing up that that's sort of in the green or kind of the yellow, but not in the red. So maybe maybe that was just the fuzz, but we'll look more. This is from Jack Curtis. What kind of style are you going for with your solo career? Also, has Gary Clark Jr. influenced your playing style or music?
Style, or I think, I don't know, I haven't, it's definitely blues based. Blues based. I don't know, a lot of complex rhythms, but not not fusion type stuff. I guess more primal. It would be like something that Junior Kimura would be doing in 2020, something like that. And Gary, yeah, I mean, to see him grow in like the last decade has been pretty cool to watch. And yeah, definitely when he's searching for stuff, I could hear it. There were solos and stuff, so that's pretty inspiring to be around.
And you've had an influence too on Gary's music in some ways. I mean, this isn't something that you've said, but this is something that I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Bright Lights arguably was sort of the hit that put him on the map. That kind of fuzz intro thing was such a big part of kind of how at least I recognized that song. And I always presumed it was just Gary.
Yeah.
And if people don't know what we're talking about, can you emulate that with the fuzzes and stuff you have here?
Yeah, maybe we can figure out the clipping part too.
Well, we're hearing there's sort of conflicting things. Mark is saying that there isn't any clipping. And I'm watching it here in the monitors, and it's not getting into the red. So I'm looking at it both on the console for the UA Thunderbolt Apollo Twin, and I'm also looking at it here on the sound levels. So
it might be just
it might just be that it's fuzz.
Yeah.
It might just be that it's fuzz.
It's like the old.
Okay, so this is Bright Lights.
Sort of. I mean, this isn't like what I would.
What did you use for the fuzz on Bright Lights?
The Experience pedal,
which I have. Actually.
Yeah. That's a good one. Hold on. Almost. Let's see that. Something like that.
So there should have been some clipping there because it's pretty saturated, but if it's somehow like farting out the YouTube stuff, let us know and we can maybe make some slight adjustments here. But our monitoring is showing that this is all kosher. Let's go to a question now. Thank you, Jack, for that question. Let's go back to some of the folks on Instagram here. Let's see. What Fulton Web are you playing, and did you find a case for your 412?
412. Fulton Web is Bill Webb's. It's like a JMP 100 maybe, like a Plexi 100 watt. I think we have it like super bass modded or wired, and the 412 cab. I don't know what that is. What that's referenced to.
It sounds like did you find a case? I don't know if you were looking, or maybe it's something that I said, or something that you said at some point where you were looking for a case for a 412. I don't know. Or yeah. maybe he meant a like a road or flight case or something like that. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, sure.
Okay. Let's go back here. This is from Ethan. What should I get for my first amp?
That's tough. I don't know what kind of music you're into. I think that would be the next question to ask, right?
Well, I think that I think that in getting your first amp, you should know that it's not going to be your last amp.
Yeah.
And so you sort of need to get some skin in the game. In my opinion, and you're not asking me, you're asking Zapata.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say get some skin in the game so you can start to calibrate. Because all of this stuff is really just kind of calibrating your taste based on the baseline that you sort of establish through the different gear that you get. So, I would start with a clean Fender. I think like something like back there, those Hot Rod DeVilles or Deluxes are a good place to start.
Yeah, something that's just neutral and you can do whatever with a platform in.
Yeah. And then you can determine from there, like, well, is 40 watts not enough for me? Do I need cleaner than that? Or is that too much volume for me? Do I need to go smaller than that? And also, these are pretty moddable amps. You can change the speakers and get a lot of different colors out of them. And you can do some other kind of small mods. Bill M offers some cool mods to these amplifiers. So there's a lot of different things you can do. I think that can really change how this stuff sounds if that's a direction you want to go.
And check out like who do you like what do they use, and just
So like if you like John Mayer, just go get a Dumble. It's like that. It's as simple as that.
Well, he started somewhere too.
Yeah, and I bet he started on something like that.
Yeah.
Or a crate.
Most definitely.
I'm gonna move this light a little bit more to get you in the face. All right. Yeah.
Am I good?
There you go. All right. Let's go to Nicola. Is this a new Mulloon guitar or is it a modded old one? What's the story with this guitar?
It is new, but it's modded. It's a maple cap.
Oh, it's a cap?
Yeah, maple cap neck.
Oh yeah, that's right. So it's like a late '60s.
Yeah, and then the body is from a new Fender. A new Fender.
Yeah, just remember that's the
okay.
that's the camera.
I get it. A new Fender American 50s something or other, and then it's his pickups. So it's kind of a Moulin, but with a Fender body. Yeah, I needed a maple neck guitar, so I kind of pieced it together. I like the snap of the maple necks with fuzzes and dirt. It's pretty cool.
Cool. All right, so that's the how does it say Mulloon?
I don't know. Moulin, maybe.
Mulan, like the Disney movie. All right, cool. Let's go back to our friends here on Instagram. This person asks, "Are you now completely happy and comfortable with your rig right now?" That's Mr. Leland Isley.
I don't know. It's kind of. I mean, yeah, it's great. It's a great starting point. I don't know. We'll see what happens. The last one was killer for I think we used it a solid year on tour, like all over the world. We did 18 countries and 4 continents.
Nice.
And nothing broke. That's pretty incredible.
That's why you don't use solderless cables. Friends don't let friends go solderless. Remember that, folks.
Yeah.
So, all right, and let's take another one from here. This is from Fabian. Hey there from CPH. Here's a question for Zap. Since he is a fuzz master, it seems most fuzzes are for strats or single coils. Any good fuzz options for 335 with humbuckers that still cuts in a blues setting?
I would think more of maybe the tone bender stuff that it's more bitey. Because the humbuckers get real woofy or woolly.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would think you would need something more for that, or not a fuzz face, unless it was modded or something. But I mean, I don't know. It would be too much, I think, for that.
Yeah, the one that I've had a lot of success with for a humbucker is Scotty at Pro Analog makes a really cool kind of tone bender thing, and I forget what he calls it. Maybe it's just like an MK2 or something like that. But he makes a really cool one that sounds great. I have a 68 335, and it sounds great on that.
Is that what Jimmy Page did? Did he do a humbucker and a tone bender, maybe?
Either that or the Telecaster.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I've heard some of that. I'm like, whoa, that's amazing.
Does a humbucker not sound so good with this fuzz face?
I haven't tried it. I don't own any humbucker guitars, so probably not the right guy to ask, but...
we could always try it with my 335 and get the Clapton thing.
Yeah.
You look excited about this proposition. Cool. Let's go back to a question on Instagram here.
Cool.
All right. Okay, what do you think? Okay, so this is a Univibe question. What do you think about the MXR Univibe and the Digitech Polera? P.S. Your tone is an inspiration. This is from Gotham Hero.
I don't know about those. I've seen them, but I haven't tried them out. I don't know. Have you tried those?
I've tried I put an MXR Univibe on a pedal board before, like a small kind of travel rig.
Yeah.
But I wasn't really evaluating it for like how it sounded. We actually did a little Univibe shootout yesterday because Zapata has the Unique Vibe, which is, another sort of one-to-one clone of an original Univibe. And we were comparing that to my Prescription Electronics Vibe unit, which is a early, probably, what would you say that Vibe unit is, like an early 90s, mid 90s?
Yeah, I believe so.
And the interesting thing about the vibes, we were discussing it yesterday, is sort of the dimensionality of it. And can you kind of give your explanation of kind of what you were hearing is kind of like, or what you look for in a vibe that kind of helps you tell you how close to original it is versus not?
I think originally the vibes were to emulate a Leslie, like organ thing.
Mm-hmm. The Leslie rotating speaker, like a 122.
Yeah, with like the two horns.
Right.
So with that, there's a certain type of waveform that happens. So for me, the really good vibes have that, and the more they go to just like a one, then that's less of a univibe for me. It's more of like a chorus.
Mm-hmm.
So the unique vibe is getting there. It's more towards that like two horn thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that the Prescription Electronics is close to that, but it has more of a that's a good way to explain it. One wave, two waves.
So the closest that you've gotten before the Unique Vibe was we had the Halo Vibe on there before, right?
Yes, and that's great. Like tonally, it's right on.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll be a backup. If the Unique breaks, then I'll have a backup.
Yeah, and I've been messing around with them a lot because I'm building my own board, and I've been kind of getting into which Univibe I want to use, and I bought that Prescription Electronics one. In fact, we got it back here. This guy right here, and these are going for like some crazy money now, like $600 or $700. But one thing I was messing with, because like on these, a lot of people are confused about voltages and stuff like this. Like this runs at 9 volt, or it says it runs at 9 volt AC, but in reality, 9 volt AC is about 12 volt DC. But I think that Bob Sweet, who is the guy that actually designed this Vibe unit, even though it's for Prescription Electronics, I think he always thought it sounded best at 12 volt, which is more like 18 DC. So he thought 12 volt AC sounded best, which is about the same as 18 volt DC. And these can run on 18 volt DC no problem. And when you change that voltage, it actually makes a huge difference. Like when we were doing it yesterday, it almost like the effect lessens considerably when you go down in voltage. It'll even run on 9 volt DC, but there's almost zero effect. Like it's so subtle, it almost doesn't make a sound. So I think definitely 18 volt DC on this sounds best, and or 12 volt AC. But yeah, really, really interesting stuff. But I thought, yours sounded great. The only thing I'd say about the Univibe, it is so big. It is bigger than the Vibro. It's bigger. It's really big. Yeah. So you have to be really committed to that sound. I mean, like the width of that is the size of your auxiliary pedal board.
Yeah, it has its own board.
Yeah, it has its own board, which we're going to be working on today. We worked on this one for those of you who are just tuning in. This is the one that we worked on today, or yesterday, and we got that dialed in. But we're going to be today working on the other rig, which is the auxiliary board that has the wah. It has the Univibe
controller.
It has a controller, which is just the speed control for the Univibe.
Mm-hmm. And then like a loop switch for the Univibe.
Okay, yeah, because on those original Univibes there was no switch for it. It was controlled from the foot pedal, and then when you go all the way back, it would go to the cancel position, which was like a bypass.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so unfortunately we don't have that auxiliary board to show you because we're still working on it. So we don't have any vibe sound for you as part of this right now, but maybe we'll be able to do one later. We have old Gabby Bergman saying hello. Uncle Gabby.
Nice.
Let's see. Nicola says, no octafuzz on the board. Am I wrong? Actually, there is an octave.
Yeah, it's a Mulan.
Yeah, let me show you the picture here just so you can see. So that it is in the kind of the top right-hand corner on top of the power supply there. It has no knob on the top.
Yeah, I think it's called the Lotus Octa.
So let's, do you want to play kind of that thing for us, kind of show us what it does, and we can hear a little bit of the octave sound. So we got some delay, reverb, and the octave. Got to be loud in those headphones, and I can kind of hear it from out here. So yeah, so in other words, there is an octave on there. It's the Mulan one, and they do really cool stuff. Because you also have one of their tremolos on this board too, right? Can you kind of show us how you use the tremolo? So just to give you a quick look at the tremolo, it's sitting right next to the Hughes and Kettner rotosphere there, kind of between the tones are delay. So let's hear what that sounds like. Cool. So Nicola, yes, octave, and it's Mulan, as is the tremolo. Let's go to a question here from our friends on Instagram. Somebody's asking for a reciprocal subscription. I don't do that. Sorry. Let's see. He says, I gotta know about that Analog Man fuzz space enclosure. I don't know what he means. Is there a certain fuzz face enclosure that you have?
I don't know. Analog man.
Analog man fuzz face enclosure. I'm not sure what the question means.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe he's talking about the one that you had that was the Zapata.
The Zap Fuzz.
The Zap Fuzz,
Yeah.
is that?
Yeah.
But that wasn't a fuzz face though, was it? That was
It was the guts of a Chennai Fuzzwa from the '70s, which is great. I used that on the last board because it has two different like settings, or it has a switch that scoops the mids, I think. So it's basically like two fuzzes in one, so it's great, really cool. I think the fuzz name is like Straight Fuzz or 8TR Fuzz or something. 70s Fuzzwa. We just took the guts out and rehoused it.
Somebody's asking, where did you get that sick poncho?
I found this great company on Instagram, actually.
On Etsy?
And it's just local artists. I forget the name. It's like Orbia Tribe or something. I have to look it up. Incredible stuff.
All right. Let's go back here. This is back in response. This is Samuel Rutherford. He's talking about this is the individual that was asking about what his first amp should be, so getting a super reverb.
Oh, gotcha.
That could be a possibility, but I think that this is sort of in the same terrain. The only difficulty,
Moving it.
yeah, moving it. It's 410s. They're heavier, but I don't know. Probably more expensive to get a super reverb too, I would think, unless you're going to Craigslist or something like that.
Yeah.
You can get those deluxe Hot Rod Deluxes for like $400 all day long on Craigslist. And pretty much every tech knows how to fix those by now. They're so ubiquitous. Let's go to Jake Cooper. I think that's how you're saying your name. Any tips for taming a reverb before a driven amp? So that would be like putting a reverb into an amp with gain that's gained up.
I don't know. Do they get crazy is that a digital thing?
Well, so it's sort of like the reason why there's effects loops for a lot of amplifiers is if you have like a delay or a reverb going into a distorted amp, it can really affect the way that sound. Essentially, and this is a good just general thing for everybody. I'm just going to move this way so that I'm not in the rig doctor stuff. We're gonna share bodily warmth. So if you imagine when you're talking about a gained up amp and then putting delay and reverb in it, it's similar to what would happen if you were putting delay before an overdrive pedal. So if you can imagine on a typical pedal board going into a clean amp, you would put delay and reverb at the end, right? Your drives would come before it. But if you think about the signal path in terms of, the amp being the distortion in this case, it would be like putting delay before your distortion pedals, and so it will actually distort the repeats or distort the way that the reverb acts. And so, but that's not really the thing that you're doing because you're using a pretty clean amps for the most part, right? It's just really high headroom, clean amps. So it's not really what you're doing.
Right. Yeah. No gain channels, just buzzes and. Well, I guess the overdrive would be something like that,
But it would be coming before your delays. So it would be like if you took your delay and you put it before your drives.
Yeah.
So Jake, and I know you're asking Zapata, but I would say if you're going to do that, you should be using your effects loop. And if you got your amp that driven in the front end, then I would think it would have to be like a low wattage single channel sort of thing. You could use. I mean, this is probably a lot of work for you, but you could also use like a line out box and use that to go into your delays and reverbs, and then feed that into something else. You could kind of do like a wet dry setup, a real wet dry setup, not the pretend wet dry setup that other people talk about on YouTube that don't understand what that means. Anyway, I hope that answers the question. If it didn't, chime back in and we'll get that going. Let's go to Mojo Blues. Do you like the zonk from Acid Fuzz? Do you use it in some tracks? Fuzz Forever.
Yeah, Acid Fuzz is great.
Which one is that one?
He's it's a zonk fuzz. It's like I guess it's a tone bender style fuzz.
That's what the zonk is, a tone bender?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, an Acid Fuzz. He's in the States, and
How much is an Acid Fuzz?
I don't know. It's a good question.
$1 million.
I know. He's just one guy, and he has a scarcity of parts. I think so. It's hard to get him. You think you have to get on his list or something. When he has parts, he'll make them. Everything. But yeah, he's great.
Is it as big as the original one?
No, it's smaller. It's like just a regular size.
Okay. All right, so Fuzz Forever.
I think it's called the Zoink.
Zoink.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go back to some of our friends here on Instagram. Man, a lot of these reciprocal like people. What's the deal with that? It seems like a new thing. Sorry, it took me a second to get back to where we were.
Maybe I'll play a little bit.
Yeah, why don't you play a little bit, and I'll track down some more of these questions.
Let's see what happens here.
All right. So let's go to Raymond Curry. I'd like to know if Zap is using his Vibe before or after Fuzz. Also, is the Octavia before or after the Fuzz? Stacked. Sounds awesome. Thank you. So question 1, Vibe before or after Fuzz?
I guess it would be after.
After Fuzz.
Yep.
Yeah, because the order that we did yesterday is, and I'll just reference the pedal board again for those of you who haven't seen it. So basically the order is it's coming into the fuzz face, and we did that first because that's run on battery, and so the guitar lead can come in and out of that very easily with a right angle plug.
And we switched the...
And I reversed the input and output jacks for him, and there's enough slack in those where it's easy for us to just move them interchangeably, since none of that's on a PC board. Then it goes to the octave, which is sitting on top of the power supply just above the fuzz face, then duelist. Then duelist goes into the Hughes and Kettner rotosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Then that goes into the tremolo, which is sitting to the left of that. Then goes into the tuner.
Mm-hmm.
Then the tuner feeds into these this pass-through jacks that I wired in the side of the Carl Martin headroom. You can see that kind of in the top right-hand corner. And that feeds out to the auxiliary board and then returns back into the Echo Czar or the Echo Tone Czar, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And then that goes to the headroom.
Correct.
And the auxiliary board that goes out to has the wah, has the unique vibe, and has like the controller for the unique vibe,
Mm-hmm.
and then a true bypass switch since there's no switch on the unique vibe since it's an original 1-to-1.
That's it.
So Fuzz. So to answer his question, Vibe is after Fuzz. Octavia is after the Fuzz face,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you had said that to you that sounds better because it was the other way around when you first brought it here.
Yeah, I think so.
And then you can tighten it up using the Tube Screamer side of the Duelist.
Yeah.
I think that's the move too, for sure.
Thanks, Raymond.
Yeah, Raymond Curry. Let's go to Pepisi. Zap. PC.
Sounds,
The piece.
yeah.
What, Zap, your wah playing is just amazing. Where exactly do you put your wah, before or after the fuzz stuff? I guess this might be a question for the mighty rig doctor. Well, we sort of just answered it, but
Yeah. I guess it's after.
It's after.
Yeah, after.
After. So I'm sort of curious because there's a lot of confusion about this. Some people really like their wah before their drives. Some people like it after.
Yeah, I did it because it was unusable if I did it like first with the fuzzes.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I just use it to make it so I could use the fuzz and all the drives to their max and be able to control all that.
And this is where I'm going to come in and just talk about a pedal board best practice thing. And a lot of people install buffers in their wah. Like there's these fuzz friendly wah buffer things. If you really want a vintage wah sound like what he has, which is a V846 that you have?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't do that and expect that you're going to have like the vintage thing. Like it's just not going to sound like Jimi Hendrix if you put a buffer in your wah, because then that means that a buffer is hitting your fuzz face, which is like the last thing that you want to do. You want that fuzz face to be getting as close to the direct guitar signal as possible. You don't want to put a buffer in there to make it so the sweep of your wah works correctly. There's just this natural impedance mismatch that doesn't work well together. Most of the guys that I actually thought sounded, who could get the closest to the Hendrix sound, typically were using their wahs after their fuzzes. Because, yeah, it is pretty unusable. I've seen Philip Sayas had sat down with me once and kind of showed me some ways that he just, like, deals with it. But I actually think it sounded better, though, going after for sure. Yeah, like, I think the way that you have it is the way that I would do it. Michael Landau, same way. Like, and Landau can really nail, like, a lot of that Hendrix stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely more expressive.
And it just changes the vibe, and it's cool when you saturate the inductor of a wah. It can it can do a lot more interesting stuff than if all of the distortion is after it. So, you know, and if you're playing clean, there's really not much of a difference at that point because presumably everything before it is bypassed. So, lessons to walk away with. Number 1, don't put a buffer inside your wah. Don't do the fuzz-friendly wah thing. Keep it vintage. All the best wah recordings that you know of did not use a fuzz-friendly wah-wah pedal. Let's go to Matar 93. How are you liking that Analog Man RCA NKT hybrid? Seems like the best option for temperature stable germanium fuzz. Have you found anything better?
Yeah, it's killer. It's smaller, so I might put it on a travel board. Or
It's just the standard kind of Hammond.
Yeah, standard size. Yeah, no, it's killer. It's definitely going to be on the next travel board if I can make that work.
That's when you see Zapata go to a Kemper. It's his travel rig.
Yeah.
He's going to Kemper. Watch out. Let's go to Jeffrey Slater. Tell Zap to check out the Pine Rose Woodworks on Instagram. Would love to wood burn a guitar for him. No quid pro quo. Good little political reference there. He wants to burn you a guitar.
Whoa. What does that mean?
I don't know. It's like a CD burner. Pyro's Woodworks. Okay. So keep that in mind. Pyro's Woodworks, Instagram. Let's go to... Is that a Rotosphere?
Yes.
It is a Rotosphere. I'll bring that back in. That's a Rotosphere. It's version 1.
Custom painted.
Custom painted by Zapata. He only does that for a select few.
Yeah.
Not even mine's been painted. But I do have a version 1 like you do.
Yeah.
They're great, man. They sound so good. Can you do like kind of what you do? Let's hear this Rotosphere. And this is why you want to go all analog on your rotary. Don't use that digital business. Pedalboards. All right. So, Steve, that's it. You heard it. Sounds great. I have no idea what it sounds like because he's only hearing in the cans. I need to get a headphone splitter here when I have guests so that I can hear what they're hearing. Just because this is all mic'd in an ISO thing underneath our house. And I just have like a 412 with 4 goosenecks, and so like a different speaker on each with a 57. So that's a Fender Concert that we're playing through right now, and a SM57, close mic'd on a G1265 speaker. Let's go to Fabian. Thanks from Copenhagen. Do you have some cool tips on playing the guitar behind Gary in the Catfish Blues or similar?
I mean, I just kind of say like, what would Muddy Waters do? You know, just real sparse and, you know, following the one pretty much. You know, that's not getting in the way. That's the key.
Catfish Blues style.
Yeah. But it depends, because that song there's a lot of improvising, so I kind of just follow what Gary does and double them sometimes. Just depends on where the song goes, you know.
So you don't play that song the same way twice typically?
Not really. I mean, I have some of the tones that like during the verses, I guess, would be the same, but yeah, everything else is all going with the flow.
All right. Here is Vikramjit. What is the best chorus sound to be had in a modern manufactured pedal? Best chorus sound.
Chorus. I don't know. I don't do the chorus thing. I don't think. I mean, a Univibe would be a chorus, sort of, right? So I don't know.
If we're talking about analog chorus, though, there's not a lot of analog choruses that are being made anymore just because the scarcity of the Bucket Brigade chips, being able to find original ones. There's some kind of, replicas that are out there of some of the classic Bucket Brigade chips that were in some of those, but it's tricky to find choruses now. I'm trying to think even for me what I think is good that's out there that's current.
I don't know. Sorry.
I mean, Retrosonic. Actually, you know what? I do have an answer for this. The best one that I've played that is fully Bucket Brigade is made by Paul Rivera and Rivera Amplification, and they have one called the Chorus 3D Shaman, I think it's called. And it has 3 outs. It has a dry center and then left and right wet on it. And it's got the vibrato switch on it, so you can go into a vibrato and then has separate controls for that. And then it has the chorus switch, which has its chorus controls, and then it has like a parallel mixer so that you can blend in how much of the chorus you want with the dry. And then it has like some dimensional switches as well. That's the best one that I've played in 10 years. It's kind of in the last 10 years. Other than, I would say, the Landau stereo chorus that I made, which sounds really good, but it's a different thing. It was really kind of more about his vibe, and he really uses it sometimes as a chorus, but a lot of times as a rotary type thing. So it's sort of a different thing, but this is like just a true chorus. Those are great, and Paul Rivera was kind of the first guy that really started modding a lot of those early analog choruses with the Boss stereo chorus, the CE1. He was like the first guy that was modding those and kind of impedance correcting those. So he's really been at it for a really long time. He does a great job. So to answer your question, that's what I would get. The Paul Rivera 3D Shaman chorus. Very, very good. Here is Metart93. Curious what your thoughts are on playing with DB2, that's Doyle Bramhall Jr. You guys seem to have a similar taste in terms of your influences in playing as well as your choice of gear. Did you learn anything from him? Tell us a Doyle story.
Yeah, well, like me and Gary, I think, went to one of his first rock shows at Antone's in like early 2000s, and he was using like a plexi half stack with an old Fuzz and everything, and just seeing that up front just blew our minds. So that's probably how it started, and then just hanging out with him. And I've teched for him before, and just try to soak up his knowledge of music. So any chance I get, I try to, be there for him, help him out. Yeah, he's a killer.
Now, one thing you told me yesterday, because one of my favorite albums for Doyle is Jelly Cream.
Oh yeah.
The first one, it's kind of got the pinkish red hue in the back, and then or just his Bramhall, right?
Yeah.
And you said that on that he used a Hot Rod DeVille, you think?
I want to say, but I could be wrong, but I don't know. It sounds like it to me. I know that he had a deal with Yamaha in like '99, and then he had
that was a solid state amp, right?
Yeah, a solid state amp, and then he also had the DeVille on tour with Pink Floyd. So he had a DeVille and that. So I'm just assuming that he used the DeVille in the studio, but. Yeah.
Which is pretty cool, because I think all of the real tone connoisseurs, always think that, to get his sound, you have to have the plexi. And you actually have his original, the Greenlight Girl plexi that was on Crossroads.
Yeah,
that amp.
Yeah.
Which is a cool amp.
Yeah, and it has a replaced transformer, which I'm trying to figure out, but. Yeah.
But did he play it like with the replaced transformer, the one that we know, or did he blow it up after that?
I know it was on tour like with Clapton for like a decade, so I don't know when that could have happened.
Yeah. Happens to the best of us, blown transformers.
Yeah.
Let's go to Mike Brookfield. Hey Zap, do you use Hendrix gauge strings, 10 to 38s, or do you go heavier? He uses 9s.
Yeah, these are 11s. I have used it once. You kind of have to, like, your hand, if you're used to heavier strings, you have to, like, I don't know, it takes a minute to get used to the light gauge. But the tone's there, for sure.
Why wouldn't you? And he's tuning also down a half step. Were you tuning down a half step when you put him on there? Because that must have been pretty slinky.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they're super slinky. It's like your whole attack and power is like half staff.
All right. Let's see. Gene Kramer just getting here. Hello. Let's go to Jesse Bruce. Hey Mason, you were talking about using the wah after fuzz. I'm definitely more of a wah first. Is the impedance mismatch effect more negligible with the silicon type fuzz? Does this with the velvet fuzz? So typically, because the fuzz faces are so high impedance, doesn't really make much of a difference whether you're talking about the silicon or the germanium. They're both incredibly high impedance, and when you engage the wah, there is this mismatch that does create this issue where the sweep becomes almost invisible on the wah. So any sort of reaction that you would get from moving it through the filter, it doesn't do much. Now there may be different types of fuzz. I don't know the composition of the velvet fuzz or what that is. I'm aware that it exists. I just don't know if it's actually like a 1-to-1 clone of a fuzz face, or if it's kind of like Wampler's own thing. So I don't know. But the reality is that if you're not using the fuzz and the wah together, then it doesn't make really one bit of difference where they go. I think that if you want to have the best performance out of the wah, then it's certainly advisable to put it afterwards. I mean, you can buffer it, but it's inside the wah, but it's just not going to sound like a vintage wah. And if you think about the recordings that you're typically going after, whether that's Stevie Ray Vaughan or whether that's Jimi Hendrix, in a lot of those cases they're going to be using the fuzz before the wah. So it sort of just depends on what you want. I think that a lot of people are just used to the convenience of having the wah first or having it off the board. And it's a compromise, I think, if you're going to be using them together with fuzz. I mean, what's the reason that you don't like it before, other than I mean, I guess if you're using it with overdrive, do you prefer it before?
The wah?
Yeah.
I've never tried it really. I mean, I think I have, but it messes with the sweep or something. It does some kind of weirdness to it. I don't know. It takes the vocalness out of it.
Do you know where Doyle uses his? Because it's like another guy that.
Yeah, same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah.
So those guys, I mean, these are guys that I think, as much as anybody, really capture the essence of some of the best users of fuzz faces and wahs. You know, between Zap and Doyle and Gary.
Yeah.
Oh, Gary also. So, I don't know. There's a case to be made. So I hope that helps, Jesse. Let's go to. Let's see. Samuel Rutherford is back. Says, "Have you tried the Love Pedal Beardsman? Sounds like a good Leslie option." I haven't tried it.
I haven't tried it.
Don't know it.
Cool name.
Beardsman. I'm gonna look it up. Love Pedal Beardsman. Beardsman. By Chorus. Let's see. I see it here on Reverb.
I don't know.
Is it analog? We don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I can't tell if this is analog or not. I don't know. If it's not analog, then it's not OG. He's saying, please play some
ramen.
Testu.
Is that a ramen bowl?
I don't know. Yeah, tell us what Mojo Blues. What is
taste?
Maybe it's just play something tasty.
That made me think of ramen.
Tonkatsu.
Yeah.
Play some tonkatsu. Let's see. Hobo Roadie. That Rivera course is probably cheaper and works way better than my 6 amp rig. I don't know. I mean, chorus could go to a 3 amp rig. You get 2 of them and go to 6 amp, and 2 amps would be dry. Let's see. Dan is recommending find a CE2. CE2s are cool. It just depends on like whether you want the studio thing for chorus. You know, like a lot of the, you know, like the Nirvana thing is kind of more the Boss chorus. Although I think Nirvana was electro harmonics. But CE2s are cool. But I like the tri-stereo chorus thing because that's like the 80s studio sound. You know, like the Lukather and the Paul Jackson Jr. and the Tim Pierce and the Michael Landau and all that stuff. But it has no bass. Like the bass is completely takes out the bass.
It's like a Roland jazz chorus amp.
I would say even more extreme than that. It almost sounds like a synthesizer, kind of like a keyboard when you play stuff.
Could be cool for parts.
It's really cool for parts, and it sits really well on a mix. And you know, when you put some delay and some reverb on that, you know, the old Lexicon stuff, and you hit it with a compressor, a DBX, it's got a really cool sound, man. Some people did some really cool stuff with it, but it just depends on what you like. Some people hate that era of music, so you know, to each his or her own. Let's go to Provo Fly. Hey Zapata, I didn't see the Sonus Vibe on your board anymore, but I do need glasses. Are you still using the Vibe or thinking about a change?
I am. It's a backup now. I got a new Vibe called the Unique Vibe.
I'm going to bring that in here so you can see it. Actually, no, that's just the whole pedal board. Sorry. Unique Vibe.
Unique Vibe has its own pedal board, so it's not in that picture, but there'll be a video of it, I'm sure.
Yeah, we've been recording and documenting the process of all the mods on this board and changes. So you'll have to tune in for that so that you can see the extent to the changes. But I'm gonna see if I can throw up a picture of the Unique Vibe, the one that we're gonna be using. And if you didn't catch some of the conversation earlier, we kind of shot these out together. And that's it right there. Let me put this to
Can you throw it on there?
Yeah, I can. Let me just airdrop this to myself.
Nice.
We'll bring in the old airdrop.
Technology, man.
Look at that. Technology works.
Cool.
Whoa. I don't know what just happened.
It's probably in another tab or something. Oh,
let's see if I can get it in there. I think I might have to save this picture.
Or maybe just show it to the camera.
I don't know if that'll look good.
Well,
let's see. Hold on. I think I can do it. Let's see if I can get it.
All right.
Now, the only caveat of this is it is $1,200. So you got to be ready to really commit to your Univibe tone, and they're really large.
Yeah, but your money is safe with it. Like I think there's a waiting list for them. So if they ever do come up on Reverb, they're sold pretty quickly, from what I've noticed.
What's going on here? All right, let's see if I can bring it in.
Sweet.
Bam.
How about that?
Picture in picture.
Nice.
So there it is, Univibe.
So
I don't know why we have like two picture in pictures here. I don't know what's going on with that, but anyway, so this is what it looks like here. I'll move it up there. Let me see if I can enlarge it slightly so you can kind of see a bigger picture. I'll cover my face. So this is the Univibe. There is no foot switch, so you have to use the expression pedal with it in order to get kind of the most out of it. And you know that's why you have on the auxiliary board, which we haven't worked on yet, that actually has a true bypass foot switch that goes into, or the kind of like a true bypass looper, so that you can turn it off, because there is no way to do that like there is, like say like on you know this Vibe, where you have a foot switch that can turn the whole thing off. There's no option like that. If you have an original Univibe, it doesn't do that either. So
yeah, and I think when it is off, like the old ones, it still drives the signal.
yeah, it's not like it goes completely true bypass when you go into the heel position.
Yeah.
So back up, but
Still great.
now just so he knows, how would you say that we shot these out yesterday? How does the Vibe unit compare
To the
Sonos?
I don't know. That's what I was wanting to have, because that would have been cool to shoot them out.
And we were kind of talking about him yesterday, like Sir Henry is another big popular one that's out there.
Yeah.
And you said that one kind of goes on kind of a different end of the spectrum of kind of the Vibe sound comparatively.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's like, you tried Univibes, the vintage ones. There's so many different ones. It's wild. There's not like they're all varied. So when people clone them, they just be cloning this certain one they have or whatever. You know.
And it goes the same for most vintage pedals or fuzzes or anything like that. Is the tolerances were so wide in the 1960s. Like a lot of these parts are like 20% variability. So you mix in 20% variability across even 20 parts. Mm-hmm. You know, you have very drastically different sounds from one to another. Or, you know, the thing that I think is really funny is people will compare, say, like a vintage Tube Screamer, you know, to a new Tube Screamer, and they put all the knobs at noon and say, well, this is an accurate comparison. And the reality is that, you know, noon on one pedal could be, you know, 10 o'clock on the other pedal. Mm-hmm. There can be a pretty wide difference. And so it's better if you're going to be doing A/B comparisons, especially with vintage stuff or with, you know, Univibes, that you actually try to go as best you can by ear and not visually, because it's not going to be a apples to apples comparison of the sound. But you're right, there were differences in sound, you know, tolerances in resistors, tolerances capacitors and pots.
Mm-hmm. Like the unique Vibe I have, I usually set the intensity to like 2 o'clock usually, but this one it's like at noon. So.
But by that same measure, you would also presumably, if you got another unique Vibe, it would probably sound different if the parts are error correct.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably going to have some variability from unit to unit.
Yeah.
Let's.
We miss any up there?
Yeah, there's a couple. Play some tasty fuzz licks.
Ooh,
tasty fuzz licks. So just so you know where we're going with it, if you haven't seen this before, this is the pedal board. We have kind of a late '60s fuzz face. Is that right?
Yeah.
So play some tasty fuzz. Whether that beardsman thing that people were talking about is actual analog. I still can't get a straight answer on it. No, it says it's analog. That's cool. So tasty fuzz. Yeah. I bet it sounded good. I can't hear it here because we have this mic'd, and I only have a single headphone input, so I don't have the ability to split the sound to two. But I can sort of hear it. It's so loud coming out of those headphones that I get a little bit of a semblance of what it is. Let's go. Raymond Curry is back. Thank you, Raymond. Do you ever have problems with chords that have stacked thirds and a bass note? I notice some fuzz pedals really don't like this and are range specific.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing you got with the volume knob. You kind of have to dial that in. Yeah, usually the all out is not for that, but you find a sweet spot and then you can hear it. So.
All right. This is Mike Wentworth. Compression placement on a board. What's your opinion? Do you use compressors?
No, I don't know. That would be never.
So there's a couple of different schools of thought on compression. Most people on pedal boards use them early in the chain. Now there's some obviously caveats. If you had a fuzz face like Zapata has, you wouldn't put it before that. But typically before a lot of the drives and things like that, you would put the compression kind of as close to the guitar as reasonably possible. There are other people that use it kind of almost more like you would see it in a studio, where the compression would come after the mic. So they would in that case maybe put it after drive pedals and almost like use it kind of like a limiter to kind of control the bandwidth or tighten everything up. And it really just depends on what your application is. With our compressor, the Nile compressor, I understood that even though I was using sort of a studio-based format for the compression and the mic pre that I put into it, I understood that people were most likely going to be using it first. So I adapted it so that it was only really going to be for instrument level. It was going to be designed to kind of go closer to the front of the pedal board. Because that's where the majority of people would typically use a compressor. But I would say for most people that's probably the place that makes sense. But if you want to use it to kind of do more of a shaping thing and kind of tighten everything up and comes after everything, that everything kind of runs through the coloration of that, then there could be a case made to use it after your drives. But I would say most people, and usually I recommend kind of putting it earlier in the chain or as close to the guitar as reasonably possible. Again, that would be pending things like fuzz faces or wahs, stuff like that. Let's see. Red stripe resistors aren't made anymore, are they?
I don't know what that is.
Are you talking about like the tropical fish type stuff? I mean, like, I don't know. Are you just talking about like the color grading system that was used, or is there like a specific red stripe? Is it the beer red stripe? The Jamaican beer?
All I know is the Ducati ones. Are those are caps, or resistors. I don't know.
Red stripe resistors, huh? I think you might be talking about just like the color grading system that they used to use before they had numbers. Like in the old days, you would have different systems to grade out stuff so that you would know where it would sit. And that's like the whole thing behind like tropical fish capacitors and stuff like that, is they grade them out depending on the color. But if it's like the old color graded system, like usually they're not made, and if you can find NOS versions of them, it's like bottom of the barrel, like garbage at this point, because everything's pretty much been graded out. That's for the same reason that a lot of the NOS like transistors and IC chips and stuff like that are pretty much, at this point, if you can get them, they're pretty picked through, because you're getting batches of stuff that's already gone through a grading process for whatever company was using them. It could be a pedal company, it could be unrelated company, would go through, they grade them out for the ones that best fit their spec, and then they would dump the excess and sell that off. So typically at this point, if you're finding old stock NKT 275s, or you're finding old stock MN 3005s or old Redicon chips or stuff like that, they're typically all graded out, and you're getting like the worst versions of what was left over from a batch that was sorted out by probably 4 or 5 companies at least by this point. So
cool.
Yeah. Let's go to, what do you think about Maloon guitars?
I like them. I mean, the man who makes them in South Korea, he's a incredible artist and Hendrix freak. So I think we share the same love for that style, and I don't know, it just works for me. And he does pedals too. I think it's how I originally found him, was through his pedals and his like metal work on them. It's incredible.
And Doyle, you been using a lot of these things like a long time ago. I remember seeing him using some Mulan. I think the tremolo like at least 10 years ago.
Yeah, maybe.
Like I think a lot of people like dig his stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Then I did the pedals, and then he sent me a guitar for my birthday or something, and that's what just sparked that whole love for it. So
cool.
Yeah, I haven't met him yet, but maybe if I go to NAMM or something, I think he goes there every year. So.
Do you want to take on this question, Zapata?
Uh-oh.
All right, so this is a question that Metar93 is asking to Zapata about me, and I'll just preface this with saying that what he's talking about, for those who are not familiar with this situation, is back over 5 years ago, starting kind of 2 years before that, I was buying a wah pedal from Barkisberry in my own name directly from them, and then I was doing some modifications to the aesthetics of it, in some cases changing the pot inside of it to kind of a 10K style S-taper pot, and then changing some of the transistor gains depending on whether they kind of met the spec that I thought sounded best with the inductor, and then I was selling them at a higher price without any explanation of what they were to begin with, and that the origins of that product was coming from Barkisberry, and that this was just changing aesthetics and a few components, and then charging almost double the amount that the original one was. And this was kind of all came to a head in 2014 when some of the wahs were taken apart. And my initial reaction to that was to deny it and not address the issue at all. And eventually, after a couple weeks of this kind of continuing and doing some serious soul searching, kind of realizing the stupidity of trying to deny kind of the facts of what was going on, and in not being transparent and honest about the reality of this product, I did a long kind of coming clean article and really talking about exactly what it was, what the product was, what it wasn't, and then I offered, of course, full refunds for anybody who felt that they were duped or dissatisfied with the product in any way. And every person or dealership that ever bought this product was given a full refund or give it in exchange, because a lot of people wanted to keep the product. They liked what they had, they liked how it sounded, but they didn't want, you know, the increased amount that they would have paid had they, you know, done the mod themselves or changed the aesthetic or known what it was up front and had the option to make the choice for either thing. So a lot of people, we gave them back the difference between what the Barkusberry original wah would have cost and what our wah cost, and gave them back that difference if they wanted to keep it. Some people just wanted to get rid of it, so we gave those people full refunds. Other people wanted to exchange for other products that we had and then get a partial refund. Whatever it was as far as restitution that they asked for, we gave them that in full. So for people that are asking about or wondering what this is about, that's kind of like a brief summary of it, and I'm sure that there's going to be people that have different opinions on what my motives were or what had happened, but that's sort of in the 1 minute version of it. But you can answer it however you want to answer it.
What's his name? Metter 93.
Metter 93.
So 93, that's probably your birth year. You're probably 25 right now. And man, we're all human. We all make mistakes. Like I have DWIs, and I think one of my DWIs, I ran into a person's fence, their backyard, and they could have, you know, their kids could have been sleeping there, and I could have killed a kid or something, and you know, that would have been awful. But you know, since that, I'm a better human being, and figured my shit out. So man, we're just all human. You know, that's where I'm at.
Okay. All right. So took that on. Thank you for the question. Hope that helps clarify. Let's move on to. Oh, Nicola says, loud and awesome fuzz.
There we go.
You did some good work. All right. This is Hobo Roadie. When I tested 20% parts, they seem to be 20% away from the mark. They're all over the place. The reality is that any of those old parts, I mean, and this even goes back to kind of what Metar was saying in terms of me taking those Barksberry wahs. The things that we typically changed in them were just because the spec of transistors was all over the place. And if you have, and this goes for a lot of different pedals, there are certain areas where that 20% won't really matter very much. But when you're like testing gains, like say on a fuzz face, the transistor gains are super important if you're going for a certain sound. And this is kind of why the whole grading system of like BC 108, BC 109, they're actually compositionally not different. It was just a number that dictated a range that those particular transistors fell in. So you can get BC 108s that are identical in terms of their gain ranges to a BC 109 and will ostensibly be exactly the same. But they would create these numbering systems to dictate sort of a certain specification that they would fall under in a general sense. And so this was almost like a way of sorting them. So a lot of people with fuzzes get really dogmatic about, well, it's got to be a BC 109 because that's what David Gilmour used. And it's like, well, it doesn't necessarily mean that because it's a BC 109 makes it more of a Gilmour sound. It's, well, what is the actual gain of that BC 109? Because if it's on the low end of, say, BC 109 and you get a BC 108 that's on the high end, they could overlap. Or they could even have BC 108s that had more gain than a BC 109. You know, so there's little tricks like this that I think a lot of people don't realize when they start talking about these numbers. It's sort of not really that critical. We just get latched on to like JRC 455 AD. Now, in that sense, there's more consistency. But when you're talking about transistors, it's a crapshoot.
Yeah, I think back then they did label the gain like BC 108C, BC 108B, maybe, I think, and that's kind of tells you how much gain they have. I think the higher the letter, that might be.
And they typically weren't matched. Like you could measure two of them, and they'd be like way different. And anyway, so these are things to consider. Let's see. This is Total Evo 7. He says, "Have you ever played in any other tunings other than E flat standard?"
Yeah, of course. I guess I could do that real quick. I play a lot of slide too, so I do the open A and open G, I guess, and D. Or is it open D? Natural. Let's see if I could tune it. Open D.
He's kind of at a bad angle because the pedal board is about this level, just over here.
See if that works.
I can hear it through the headphones. It sounds great. I mean, it sounds great acoustically, you know. But
that was open G or C sharp. I don't know. Open F sharp.
Open F sharp. Yeah, because you're in E flat.
Yeah.
Got it. Let's see. We can go back to our friend Raymond. Says, thanks for the answer, Zap. I never consider using the guitar volume knob to help dial in the fuzz. And that's really the magic of fuzz faces.
Yeah.
Is really using the volume control. It can be such a different. I mean, I really believe that's how Hendrix got kind of his clean tone is so chimey. I believe because he has on the fuzz and he's rolled back.
Oh yeah, like on the Monterey. I think the Bob Dylan song he did. You can hear him mess with that volume. It's pretty killer.
Yeah. Let's go to. I'm sorry, I can't read your name, but why choose the Duelist Overdrive?
I guess because it has two options, mainly, and then I don't know. It's the first time I tried this. I think I used it in rehearsal with the fuzz, and I like the.
Yeah, you're talking about how it kind of tightens everything up.
Yeah, and then makes it even crazier. So.
And also, man, Jesse Davey is like such a killer player, man.
Yeah, he's the.
Like I really know. I mean, like for that Stevie Hendrix stuff, he really kills it.
Yeah, he's a legend.
He's a good guy. Great player. Let's see.
Wait, go back up.
What's that?
This guy, do the right thing, always works best. Thanks for your honesty and transparency. This speaks volumes to you.
Yeah, this is Brian Carr. Thank you, Brian, and Tom. Yeah, so this is just kind of going. If you weren't here, there were some questions asked earlier in the live stream just about a product that I made in 2014. So these are just a few comments, kind of based on that. So thank you for all those, and Paul Jackson. Thank you for those. Let's go, and Raymond, thank you for that. Let's see. This is a question from Tom. Either of you guys, what pot would you use in a 1969 Stratocaster that had the original pots removed? I'm restoring it now. Will the pots make a difference in the sound?
I mean, if it's all original, I would definitely seek a original pot. I'm sure they're on eBay. Right?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to keep it original, but the reality is that pots are actually better made now than they were then. And there's some people that I think will disagree with this, but in terms of the quality of the build, their pots will last longer now than they will then if you're buying a high quality pot. Now you can buy probably worse pots now than you could buy back then, and so there'll be some people that say, well, the pots are worse now, they don't last as long, they're not as well built. You can find cheap pots now if you want to get cheap pots that you probably couldn't find in 1960, that were made as poorly, that were made overseas, that were really just made for it to be as cheap as possible. Mm-hmm. But I think if you got a good quality CTS pot, I think that you will. I think it will be very well made. And the other one, Dunlop makes really good pots.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they make nice enclosed pots. Very difficult to get them dirty. They last a long time. And one person that I saw using them that's a real vintage freak is James Santiago, who's kind of really into the Eric Johnson thing, and is a guy that is really discerning about tone. And him using those in his vintage Strats, to me, I think he has kind of one that's like a 50s style that he put them in, and was really talking about how good they sound. And really, in the end, if you're just talking about resistance, which is what a pot is, a variable resistor. So the resistor would be like the part that you would install in pedals, but this one is variable, so you can adjust it. And so, I would say that I wouldn't freak out about it if there's not an easy way for you to find a pot with a 250K dated for 69. I don't think you should worry about that. But some people, Zapata, might disagree with me on that.
I mean, if you're already there and the pots are the last thing of the 69 vintage guitar, I'd just try to seek that out.
Yeah.
But whatever. I mean, you're not gonna. It's really gonna hurt anything to try out the Dunlop ones, see what you think.
Yeah. All right, so this is a super chat from Tom. Thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate that. Thanks for your honesty. Answers Mason Zapata. You seem very in tune with your energy. Do you practice any meditation? I find it centers me.
I run. I try to run a lot, and that's when I get my meditation, because on the road you can just get out of the hotel and be inspired by the sights and the culture around. So that's what I do for that.
Very cool. Thank you for the question, Tom. Let's move on to, let's see. This is Hobo Roadie. I have some random transistors that I thought I'd make some random pedals for laughs. Could be cool. So, sometimes when you combine some of those different values, you can get unexpected results that might be cool. Here's a good one. How did you meet Gary Clark Jr.?
We met through high school. We went to high school together. I was a year older than him, and I believe we were the only two guitar players in the high school. So that are both our friends, I guess, brought us together. Groups of friends.
All right, this is a good one. Favorite pedal platform amps? We talked about this a little bit earlier, but we can come back to it.
I have just, for Strat, I use Strats a lot, so I think 100 watts is needed for me. And I got an old dual Showman Reverb and a 100 watt Plexi. So yeah, the big wattage. That's what I do.
And I agree, those are great amps, but I think for normal players, something like what's behind me, the Deluxe, Hot Rod Deluxe is a good place to start. If you're kind of just getting into it and you want to kind of spend more of the money on pedals, you can certainly get good results out of those if you change the speaker. Something really simple like a Eminence ET65 is a good speaker for that. It's kind of like a G1265 with a little bit better bass. Can do a lot for that. Changing the volume pot to an audio taper instead of a linear taper will give you a little more flexibility. And those amps, even though they're not the best made amps in the world, pretty much every tech across America has seen those hundreds of times. So you can get them fixed most places. They're very serviceable for the most part. And you can get them for $400 on Craigslist, all day long. And
with those, I've seen at the shop in Austin, they take those and they put in switchcraft jacks, just to
right,
because
they typically have a plastic jack that just has a metal nut around it, and they're kind of crappy, and they're put onto the circuit board. So getting those off the circuit board, putting it chassis mounted is a good way to do it. We got another super chat from Uncle RJ Ronquillo. Good to hear from you, RJ. Hi, Jen Zapata. Weirdest item on the tour rider.
Let me think about that. Our tour rider's pretty bland, actually. The only thing that's weird for them and maybe my organic stuff that I asked for, but it's pretty normal. Nothing out of the ordinary.
What's the weirdest thing you've seen on a tour rider? Because you guys you don't have to say who, but you tour with lots of people, Lenny Kravitz, people like that.
Yeah, we did this one with this one band, and they had to, it was across, where was it, in London or something, and they had to have Domino's pizza and Coke, no matter what.
Domino's.
Go an hour away. find Domino's Pizza at a Coke.
Is there Domino's Pizza internationally?
Yeah, well, in London, I think.
In London there is, okay.
Or wherever we were. Paris? Maybe it was Paris.
Man. That's such mediocre pizza.
Yeah.
My wife is a principal, and that's what they order for the kids, you know, like when there's like a, a celebration or, kids improve their reading levels, Domino's Pizza all around.
Very bizarre.
Yeah.
But then again, my organic fruit might be bizarre to some people. So.
It might be hard when you're in, certain places in the country where it's harder to come by.
Yeah, actually, I do have it might be weird, but I always want that Aquapana bottled water. Have two of those on Like, sometimes it takes them a minute to find that.
All right. Let's see. We answered these. Pedal platform. This is a question from Paul Johnson. Do you and Gary use different open tunings on the same live song?
No.
No.
No, I don't believe so. No. Sometimes, I always try to contrast what he's doing, be it gear or, tunings. So.
Let's go to this one. This is, do you have any good suggestions for a bluesy fuzz pedal?
Can't go wrong with a fuzz face.
You can't go wrong with a fuzz face.
You could leave it on all night and be completely happy.
What's the if somebody couldn't afford a fuzz face, let's say, because a vintage fuzz face you're looking at probably $800 minimum for a vintage one.
Yeah, minimum. The new mini Dunlop fuzz faces, I'm sure you can get those for like $100.
But which one that you can personally endorse? If this wasn't an option for you, you're in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, and you need to go and get a fuzz. What do you get?
I tried which one was it? It was the Dunlop, like it was turquoise, I think.
Okay.
That one was pretty.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, so Jimmy Dunlop mini fuzz wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Tom, you're certainly welcome. Let's go to our friend Pedro. Hey, Mason and Zab, greetings from Cologne, Germany. Any suggestions to get a really good vintage wah without breaking your back or bank? I got a 70s Vox for $250 414, but doesn't not get close to those vintage wah tones.
Yeah, there's some Italian wahs. I forget the name of them, but you have to look in the guts and see if they have the right, like a trash can inductor. Some of those have those, and you can get those for a couple $100.
The best one, I think, for the money, I'm trying to see if I have it here on my shelf. Maybe it fell underneath this shelf. All right, hold on. I'm going to grab it.
Musical break.
All right, here it is. I was using it earlier, and it fell behind my desk. So this is the Blubber Wah, and this was turned on to me by Philip Sace. Feel like that is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so these were made in Japan, and these were their clones of the V846. So it's almost exactly the same. It was made by Maxon. They didn't call it a wah, and you can't really see here. Let's see if we can get it to focus. Let's see if it will focus. Will it focus? No. But it doesn't say wah. It says Crying Baby Machine. So I think that we should now, as a standard, refer to wahs as Crying Baby Machines. Because that's just a way cooler, like, what Crying Baby Machine are you using, man? But anyway, it's called Crying Baby Machine, and you can get these for about $150 on Reverb, and like this is like mint condition. Philip Sayes turned me onto this one, and he's like, these are amazing if you can find them. They're really inexpensive, and nobody knows about them. It's a Crying Baby Machine, Blubber Wah is what it's called, and it's got that real short sweep that all the vintage wahs have. It sounds really, really good. It's got a lot of old style parts in it. Sounds really great. They're very inexpensive, and they're super lightweight. The casting that they used, it looks the same as a normal wah, but it's really, really lightweight. So give those a try if you're looking for something vintage and cheap. I don't know, any new wahs that you think sound really good?
Yeah, I have a Venus Witch. This guy from London.
Venus Witch. I want to see what this looks like. Hold on.
Outside of
Venus.
Somewhere outside of London.
Witch wall.
Yeah, he makes them in his.
Oh yeah, yeah. I can see he uses a halo inductor. Yeah. Okay, I see it.
Yeah, he
okay.
He
Venus
makes them
Witch.
in his spare time, and it'd probably be tough to get one.
Yeah.
But those are pretty cool for a new one.
Yeah, they look cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have any suggestions on new wahs that had the vintage vibe. I'm trying to think of what would be new that I know that's really good. I mean, I always thought that the ones that I don't know if he still makes them, but the Castledine ones are really good, or the Chase Tone ones I thought were really good if you wanted a vintage one. And there's another guy called like Oxbow or something like that apparently I haven't tried one of those, but he apparently makes vintage wahs or like one-to-one kind of clones. I don't know if you played one of those.
No, I remember the purple Buddhas were kind of cool.
Yeah, I actually got one. You see that? Grab that one.
Oh no. One second.
Yeah, you know, the purple Buddha ones are amazing. I have one right here that he's grabbing off the wall. It's this one. Now, the thing you need to look for, though, is on the bottom, there are different versions. In the one that says made, I don't know, let's see if we can get this to focus. It says here that it's made in San Rafael, California. That's the one that you want. You don't want the later one. So you want the one that says made in San Rafael, California. That's the one to get. These are the Buddha wahs. Very simple. They sound great. A lot of guys still use these. Paul Jackson Jr. still uses this. They're very funky. Cheap. They sound great. They're very inexpensive. I think this was $90 on Reverb. Yeah. So another one to consider if you don't want to break the bank and you want something hip. So cool. Hopefully that helps Pedro. Recommended pedals for direct recording. Well, the Nile compressor I think is first and foremost. It's got the mic pre-built in. It's got the studio comp built in, and if you are running pedals into that, it'll also just sound great. It'll make sure that everything sounds nice and good coming into your direct recording. But I don't know, anything that you like for direct recording?
I haven't tried that yet.
Never touched this stuff. Yeah. All right. Well, I hope that helps, Aaron. I think I'm trying to think of some other stuff that doesn't involve anything that I make that I think sounds pretty good. Actually, the color box sounds good. The JHS one, I think he just released a new one, and it's a little quieter and is kind of is updated based on some of the complaints that people had. So check that out. Pedro just asked if we tried the King Tone wah. Have you tried the Jesse Davies? I don't even know that he made a wah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's still in like prototype phase with that.
King Tone wah. I'm just looking up on my phone to see if there's. It changed it to King Yong wah. King Tone wah.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
Yeah. Well, it looks like he makes an inductor, or is it a pot or an inductor? Tone guitar, King Tone switch.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think it's out yet, but maybe.
It looks like he's making a vibe.
Oh, that's cool.
King Tone switch. What is this?
Looks like an inductor.
Yeah, it looks kind of like an inductor. No, it's a true bypass. I don't know. Anyway, I haven't seen the King Tone one. Maybe we'll try one when it comes out. This is Rafael Jesus. How long does it take shipping to the UK usually? Probably like 4 days. 4 to 7 days. Like if you order on a Monday, you might have it by Friday. But definitely by the following Monday. Usually we ship priority mail. Sometimes for people that are collecting right now, because we're running all of our holiday sales and some of the B-stock blowout stuff. And our holiday sale is 15% off, and you can redeem that on our website. Or if you have any questions or you don't know, you're not on our email list, be sure to sign up on our email list on vertexfx.com, and we have a newsletter, and we send out all of our holiday specials through that. And I think there's 2 more days to collect on the 15% off store-wide and free shipping. And so if you want to collect on that, please make sure that you do that. And typically for that, I think for the free shipping option, it might be a little bit longer than that because it's like the free shipping, and you can pay if you want to get like upgraded or faster shipping, but like the basic free shipping I think is maybe like 10 days for that instead of like the 4 days. But if you need to increase that time, you can always send us an email and we can figure that out for you. This is from Uncle Gabby Bergman. Hey Zap, how's the SSS treating you?
It's good. It's being shipped out. We're doing a couple TV shows in LA this week. What's today? Saturday? Yeah.
Zap's going to play with Kelly Clarkson.
Next week, so yeah, it's a great.
And can you say what the other one that you're playing on?
Yeah, the Voice.
The Voice. So tune into The Voice. Shout out to my buddy Justin Derrico, guitarist for The Voice. Yeah. Which shop in Austin were you referring to? I live in Austin.
Austin Vintage Guitars. It's on Red River and like 45th, I think.
Red River and 45th. Pedro, you're very welcome. Dre Batista, Pro Analog Devices, Super Quack Wah, amazing vintage voice tone. Yeah, actually, I would agree with that. I haven't played any of the new ones, but one of my clients, Mark Karen, who is like with Bob Weir and Rat Dog, and also has a solo career, he uses one, has an older one, and it sounded really good. So yeah, I forgot about that. Thanks, Dre, for that reminder. Old man Rhett Scholl,
Oh yeah,
chiming in. Reverend Dr. Rhett Scholl. Follow Rhett if you haven't, at Rhett Scholl. Oh yeah, brother Rhett. Oh, what Univibe should I buy?
you missed that.
You missed it, Rhett. Late to the party.
I guess right now the question is, how much space do you have?
Yeah.
Because I'm at the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
With being almost impractical, but.
That's a long-winded way for Zapata to say, Rhett, that you should just get your HX Stomp. Just get an HX Stomp.
Yeah, like SIM card. Is that what that is?
Play the SIM card. Play that computer.
Yeah.
But if you were really being reasonable, like if you had to put together a travel rig, I think this is an interesting question. If you had to put together a travel rig, and you had to use a Vibe, with that consideration, what do you think you would use? Because like so the unique Vibe would be disqualified by that metric.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to sit down and try a bunch of the smaller ones out and feel them and see which would work.
Because people like the Vibe Machine.
Vibe Machine.
That's like kind of the one that's made. I think it's made in Croatia, or a lot of people are into them. They're pretty small, like an MXR kind of Phase 90 size.
Okay.
A lot of people are into that. I don't really know. Oh, there's that one that the Donner Prince guys make. I forget what it's called.
Donner Prince.
Yeah, they're also, I think, in kind of Eastern Europe. It looks like Jesse Davies or JV makes one.
Yeah, I'd be interested to try that.
Yeah, or Full Tone has kind of a smaller one.
Mm-hmm.
I remember on the Clapton tour in the early days that Doyle would use the one that was kind of the tall Hammond box one that was unpainted, the custom shop Full Tone Deja Vibe.
Yeah, I remember that one.
All right. Audio Venturous says Love Pedal Vibronaut. I know a couple people like that. My buddy Jamie Arendt really likes that one, but I haven't tried it. It's a good question because we're going, what's your favorite Univibe these days? Yeah, we did talk about it a little earlier about the this pedal right here, the Unique Vibe, as being the one that we thought really sounded good. This is the one that Eric's using on his current rig, and this is pretty much a 1-to-1 replica of the original Univibe. So
Has its own board.
Has its own board. It's so big, it has its own board and its own zip code. Campfire Guitar Store. Right, have you checked out the Jesse Davey King Tone? We just actually talked about that one.
Yeah.
And that one I was just looking up on my phone here.
Maybe he just released that? Or,
I don't know. Let's see. I'm looking it up on my phone here. I'll see if I can throw a photo up. Looks like they're $500 mono. Let's see if I can get a photo. I'm gonna text a picture of it to myself here so I can throw it up on the screen. It looks like it's called the 1968.
That's cool.
trying to airdrop this thing to myself from my phone. See if we can get it. See if we can get on the page. Old airdrop. Downloads. Still that airdrop's still thinking about it. No dice on the airdrop, but it looks like it's sort of like an MXR flanger size enclosure. Okay, I got it. I'll throw it up here. Let's see. Oh, still thinking about it. There it goes. Okay, here we go. So this is the one that the Jesse Davey one that he's talking about, and I bet it's cool because Jesse's a great guitarist, but also I think knows kind of that sound, like that's his kind of genre
wheelhouse.
Yeah, so I'm sure that it sounds killer, and it looks like it's pretty compact. So that's one to consider. Rhett just clarified his full title is Reverend Dr. Shull ESQ. Because he went to ministerial school whilst in medical school and law school. So he is a multi-talented YouTuber, that's for sure.
He's a polymath, as they say.
Audio Venturous, Plexi versus Helix. I mean, what are we talking about? It's Helix. I mean, the pod of 2019, right? No contest. Helix all day. I'm being facetious. Of course, the Plexi. What are you recording the guitar tone with? So, at the house, I have a 412 straight Marshall cab, which is under the floor in kind of like the guest bedroom. And the floor lifts up. It has 4 goosenecks that go down with SM57s on 4 different speakers. So I can change the speakers between a greenback, a G1265, a vintage 30, and then right now I think I got an Alessandro 12-inch, like GS65. And so I can just select between the 4 speakers, and right now we have a G1265 that we're running through a Fender Concert, which is kind of under my desk here. And it's just being run clean, and then the pedal board is kind of sitting over to our left here, and I'm sorry that I don't have an additional, let's see, let me bring up a photo of it. It's sitting to the left here. This is a photo of it, and this is kind of what we're running through it, and so that's the vibe. No IRs. This is a mic cab with a 57. We can hear all the airdrop. Oh, you can hear it coming in? That's cool. Yeah, I'm glad it sounds good. I had some help from RJ to kind of get this dialed in a little bit. He was giving me some advice. It's RJ Ronquillo. I'm glad it sounds good. Some people thought it was clipping in the beginning, but I think it was just because they're not used to hearing, saturated fuzz to the max. So you got to be ready for that. Really digging all the Harrison riffs.
Yeah. You must get that record if you don't have it.
All right, and I think we'll take a couple more, and then we're going to call it because we've almost done 2 hours here. So Dre says, I'm not sure, let me put this up here. I'm not sure if I've asked this before, but I've noticed Zapata has a reverb pedal, and he uses it on amps that have reverb. So he's saying you have a reverb pedal and you use it in conjunction with pedal or amps that have reverb already. What is the what's the deal with that?
Well, actually, the setup I have is a Marshall. It doesn't have reverb, and I have a reverb tank, and then this. So for certain parts of the songs that have like wild splashes, I'll use that for. But other than that, yeah, I have a standalone reverb tank.
Can you kind of give us a little bit of like, because if you look here, I'm going to show you the photo. There's two different, sorry, wrong one. There's two different settings for the reverb. So if you look there on the top left, it's the Carl Martin headroom. And there's actually a real Accutronics reverb tank inside of it. I know this well because I spent a lot of time in that pedal yesterday trying to figure out how to route a send and return through it using all the extra space and having to avoid touching the reverb tank in any way. We eventually figured out how to do that. But you can see in the front there that I drilled some extra holes that I wasn't able to make work in the front, so I plugged those with some, good quality plastic plugs. But there's two different settings. So there's kind of an extreme setting and then a less extreme. So let's hear one of those sounds now and see what we're doing.
So this would be the normal reverb setting.
Normal reverb.
And then the crazy one.
And this is just using the toggle switch because there's like two duplicate on the Carl Martin headroom, which is the reverb that we're using. Let's see, there on the left foot switch there's two different settings, and so each of those there's two sets of knobs, 4 knobs total. There's a duplicate of the reverb level and the tone, and so you can just set those different. So you were just kind of showing us toggling between those two. And yeah, it does sound badass as Rhett has illuminated. It is very, very cool. This is a MedTart 93. This is kind of the question about the wah a little bit back. Of course, I really try to be transparent about that and just really be really forthcoming. And people can make up their own minds about how they would deal with the ethics of that. Because after kind of making it right with people, it's kind of out of my hands what they decide to do next. And typically the people that were affected by this have been very forgiving and still buy pedals from us now, which is part of the reason why we've been able to make such a quality comeback and be with so many of the great dealerships, Sweetwater among them, kind of the best in the industry, and working with those people now. And I think that's largely attributed to just really taking care of the problem wholly and completely. His question, though, is how do you set your fuzz face style pedals? Do you like running them through an overdrive or straight into an amp? How does the Univibe preamp change the sound?
Right now I have the volume maxed out and the fuzz set to, I don't know, 40% maybe. So it's high headroom, I guess you'd say. And Univibe preamp, I guess it juices it a little bit. So I guess a bit.
But you also have that true bypass switch, so you can take it like it's wired into an external box that you can bypass the thing completely.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it does color the signal for sure.
And his follow up to that is, if you're looking for something smaller, Univibe makes a shifty, which is the same guts in a smaller enclosure. The waitlist is pretty crazy, though. Also, Tinsley Sir Henry by Dustin S.
Yeah. The shifty. That's the one Rhett should get. Yes.
The shifty, okay, the one that Red should get, the small one, the shifty.
Check it out.
Okay. Thank you for that, MedTart 93. All right. Oh, yeah, the power of soul. Yeah. All right, guys, so we did a full 2 hours, 2 minutes here. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe, please make sure that you do that. I've put a link not only in the description box, but also in the pinned comment at the top. That really goes a long way in helping us continue to be able to make this sustainably. If you enjoyed what you saw from Zapata, I'd love for you to give us a like, just a thumbs up. Give us a comment, some of maybe your favorite parts or additional questions that maybe we can take care of after this is over, or if you have questions for me in particular about your pedal board, I'd be happy to help with those. And I hope everybody has a great weekend. And last thing is, if you want to participate in the sale that we have going on, there's 2 days left, today and tomorrow. Our last 2 days where we have free shipping worldwide, in addition to 15% off anything in our store. If you're subscribed to our newsletter, you'll get that. But I think that the promo code is just Holiday 2019 in all caps. If you have any problems redeeming that, just email us, and we have people standing by to help you with any of your questions regarding that.
You want to play it out?
Yeah, play it out. Yeah. Oh, hey, Nick. And we have to say hey to Nick, because Nick is Sweetwater. Nick, I will be at Sweetwater next week. I'm going to be doing some presentations there and doing some videos. So hopefully you can say hey, or we can have a lunch or something like that at the cafeteria if you have some free time. The last question is, what changes them? What's the most revolving door on this rig?
I guess the fuzz would be.
Yeah.
Depending on the day.
Yeah.
I always have an extra fuzz on the side too for different tastes that day.
All right.
So.
All right, guys. See you later. Have a great weekend. Happy Saturday. I'm gonna finish it up.